I think to myself, especially as I'm writing a thriller or a mystery and thinking, how would a narrator choose to present a story and when are they going to give certain information? And so my general rule for myself is if it's not relevant or needed, then I kind of hold back on it. And so those reveals kind of allow me to provide like a backbone of information that changes the perspective that the readers are maybe seeing. So, when she's going back home at first, she's going for her father's funeral and her brothers are there and something happened to the mother, but you're not quite sure what. And it's not really until she comes face to face with having to reveal that information of, actually, I wasn't a part of this family until I was 7 years old. And that's why it's causing this tension of why am I the one to inherit this house? Well, I think, optimistically, I always want my characters to kind of come around and understand one another. And so I did think that was going to be a relationship that could have a different understanding. They were the same age growing up and were seen in kind of direct competition with one another, had disrupted one another's lives very much a lot. And I think neither one of them could see from the other's perspective. And it takes all these years later to look back and realize who they were and what they were dealing with and the secrets that each of them were keeping. So I really did want to have that resolution. So that actually didn't come to me until I was almost all the way through the first draft. I like to not know, as a writer, I like to not know what happens when I start the book because I feel like I can be surprised. I can have a freedom of like seeing what puzzle pieces there are. And that kind of came to me as I realized, these are the things that I have been placing behind the scenes of what these teenagers had been doing. And that kind of changed the whole story for me. My first draft is very much a discovery draft. And then I kind of went back in and placed that in again. I always had it that Hazel missed the message because I think those missed moments, like I'm really interested in this idea of like, what little step could you have taken that changes the trajectory of the story, but that you missed and you want to go back. And that's what drives her to try and find her. So I always had them missing one another in order to also kind of keep that mystery going forward. But I think it's something that haunts Hazel. So I definitely thought about it. Like, what if I had made it back? Oh, sometimes I know it earlier than other books. This book I had an idea in my mind and I changed it several times as I was writing. I did circle back to that original idea, but it wasn't until the very, very end. But I usually know like parts of the backstory. Like I'll know maybe the things that have happened 20 years earlier, but what's happening in the present is usually a complete mystery. So this was a late one. So I had to do a lot of work after my first draft once I figured that out and had that aha moment. Yeah, well, I had some other people in her family that had bigger roles in, I'd say, what ended up happening, if that makes sense, without giving it entirely away. And then I ended up realizing that they just had these, like, Gage had smaller secrets